I didn't think much of my door camera at first, until it started showing someone standing outside my house at the exact same time every night. The weird part is, every time I checked in real life, there was no one there. I installed the camera after a few packages went missing in my area. Nothing serious, just one of those cheap door cams that sends notifications when it detects motion. For the first few days, it was normal. Delivery guys, neighbors, a cat walking past at night. Then one night, around 3:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected. I remember being half asleep and annoyed, but I opened the app anyway. And that's when I saw him. There was a man standing right in front of my door. Not knocking, not pacing, just standing there, facing straight toward the camera. I sat up immediately. It didn't feel like someone waiting. It felt like someone just watching. I muted the phone and listened. Nothing. No footsteps, no movement, no sound at all. I got up slowly and walked to the door. I didn't even know what I was expecting. I checked through the peephole. Empty. I opened the door anyway. No one. The street was completely quiet. It didn't make sense. There was no way someone could leave that fast without making noise. I went back to bed, telling myself it had to be a glitch. But the next night, it happened again. Same time, 3:12 a.m. This time I stayed in bed and opened the app right away. And yeah, he was there again. Same position, same stillness. It was like I was watching a paused video. I tried zooming in. The quality got worse, but I could tell something felt off. His face wasn't clear. Not blurry exactly, just hard to focus on, like my eyes couldn't lock onto it properly. I didn't go to the door this time. I just watched, waiting for him to do something, anything. But he didn't move, not even slightly. After a few minutes, the feed flickered for a second, and just like that, he was gone. By the third night, I wasn't even trying to sleep. I just waited. 3:11. Nothing. 3:12. Notification. And there he was again. But this time, he wasn't standing where he usually did. He was closer. Now he was right up near the door, close enough that I should have heard something, even breathing. But the house was completely silent. That silence is what got to me the most, because it didn't feel normal. It felt like the kind of silence where something is trying not to be heard. I kept staring at my phone, and then he moved. Just a little. He slowly lifted his arm and pointed straight ahead. At first I thought he was pointing at the camera, but then it hit me. The camera is mounted above the door, facing outward. If he was pointing straight ahead, he wasn't pointing at the camera. He was pointing through it, inside the house. I actually turned around at that point, like I expected to see something behind me. Nothing, just my dark living room. I looked back at my phone. The porch was empty again. The next morning, I watched the recording. I needed to make sure I wasn't losing it. The video played exactly the same, until the very end. Right before it cut off, he leaned closer to the camera, and for a second, the image sharpened, just enough to see his face clearly. And I swear, it looked exactly like me. Same face, same features, just standing outside, smiling. I haven't opened that app since. The camera's still there, but I don't check it anymore. Still, every night around 3:12 a.m., I wake up for no reason, and sometimes I feel like someone is standing right outside my door, not knocking, not moving, just waiting for me to look. In the 1970s,
A man would break into women's homes at night, stand beside their bed, and whisper to them while they were sleeping. His name was Richard Ramirez. People later called him the Night Stalker. But what made him truly terrifying wasn't just what he did, it was how he did it. He didn't rush, he didn't panic, he would take his time. Most of his victims never even heard him enter. He would unlock windows, slip inside silently, walk through the house in complete darkness, and head straight to the bedroom. One survivor later described something that still feels unreal. She said she woke up suddenly in the middle of the night. No noise, no reason, just that feeling, like someone was watching her. She opened her eyes slowly and saw a man standing in the corner of her room, completely still, watching her. Before she could scream, he stepped closer, slowly, calmly, and said something in a quiet voice. "Don't move." That's what made him different. He didn't just attack, he controlled the moment. He wanted them awake, aware, terrified. In several cases, he would speak to his victims before attacking them, sometimes for minutes, sometimes longer, just standing there in the dark, talking, watching. And the scariest part? He chose his victims randomly. No pattern, no connection, which meant anyone could be next. Any house, any street. During that time, people in California stopped sleeping with their windows open. Some even started sleeping with lights on, because the idea of waking up and seeing someone already inside your room was too real. But here's something most people don't realize. In at least one case, a victim said she thought she had imagined it, because when she first woke up and saw him, he didn't move, didn't speak, didn't do anything, just stood there. So she closed her eyes again, tried to go back to sleep, and that was her biggest mistake. Last summer, my friend and I went camping deep in the woods, just the two of us, 2 tents, 2 sleeping bags. But when we woke up the next morning, there were 3 tents at our campsite, and neither of us had put the third one there. My friend Ryan and I had been planning that camping trip for weeks. Nothing crazy, just a quiet weekend away from the city. We found a remote campsite about 2 hours into a national forest. No cabins, no rangers, no other campers, just trees, endless trees. By the time we arrived, the sun was already starting to set, so we set up our tents quickly, mine on the left, Ryan's on the right. We built a small fire, cooked some instant noodles, and just sat there talking while the forest slowly went dark. If you've ever camped before, you know how different the woods feel at night. During the day, it's peaceful, but once it gets dark, every sound feels louder, every shadow feels deeper. Still, everything felt normal, until around midnight. Ryan suddenly stopped talking mid-sentence. "Did you hear that?" he asked. I listened. At first, I didn't hear anything. Then, footsteps. Somewhere in the forest behind us. Slow, crunching on leaves. Not an animal, too heavy and too steady. Someone was walking. We both looked toward the trees, but the firelight only reached a few meters into the forest. Beyond that, total darkness. "Probably another camper," Ryan said, but something about it felt wrong. If someone else was camping nearby, why hadn't we seen them earlier? And why were they walking through the woods at midnight? The footsteps stopped, just stopped completely, like whoever it was realized we were listening. We waited for a minute. Nothing else happened. Eventually, Ryan shrugged. "Probably just a deer," he said. "But deer don't walk like that." Around 1 a.m., we put out the fire and went into our tents. The forest got even quieter after that.
too quiet. You know that silence in the woods where it feels like everything is watching? That kind. I lay in my sleeping bag, staring at the roof of my tent, trying to fall asleep. That's when I heard it. Fabric moving, very softly, somewhere outside. At first I thought it was the wind, but then I realized something. There was no wind. The trees were completely still. Then I heard a zipper slowly sliding open from outside my tent. I froze, every muscle in my body locked, because my tent zipper was still closed, which meant the sound wasn't coming from my tent. It was coming from Ryan's.
"Ryan," I whispered. No answer, just silence. Then footsteps again, but this time they were inside the campsite, right outside the tents, walking slowly, back and forth, like someone was studying us. I grabbed my flashlight. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure whoever was outside could hear it. I slowly opened my tent zipper, just a little, enough to shine the flashlight out. The beam cut through the darkness. Ryan's tent was still there, closed, silent, but something else caught my attention. Footprints, fresh footprints in the dirt, circling both tents, and they weren't ours.
Then I noticed something else, something that made my stomach drop. Another tent, about 10 feet behind ours. A small green tent, blending into the darkness. I was absolutely sure it hadn't been there earlier, but now it was, perfectly set up, completely silent, facing our tents, like whoever was inside had been watching us all night.
"Ryan," I whispered again, this time louder. Still no answer. I stepped out of my tent. The forest felt wrong, too quiet. I walked slowly toward Ryan's tent. "Ryan?" No response. I unzipped his tent. Empty. His sleeping bag was still there, but Ryan was gone. That's when I heard a zipper open behind me, slowly, very slowly. I turned around. The third tent. Its zipper had opened halfway, and from inside I heard breathing, slow, calm, patient, like whoever was inside had been waiting for me to notice. I didn't wait to see who it was. I grabbed my keys, ran to the car, and drove out of the forest without stopping. Ryan was reported missing the next day. They searched the area for weeks, but they never found him or the third tent. But sometimes at night, I keep thinking about something. When I first woke up in my tent that night, I'm almost certain there were only 2 tents at the campsite, which means the third one must have been set up while we were sleeping, and whoever was inside it was close enough to hear us breathing. A few months ago, something happened in my house that still doesn't make sense. At 2:46 a.m., my younger brother woke me up and said there was someone standing in the hallway. The terrifying part wasn't that someone was there. It was that whoever it was didn't move for almost 20 minutes. This happened on a random Tuesday night. Nothing unusual. My parents were asleep in their room downstairs. My brother and I were upstairs in 2 separate bedrooms across from each other. Our house isn't old or creepy. It's a normal suburban house in a quiet neighborhood. Street lights outside, neighbors close by. The kind of place where nothing strange ever really happens. But that night, around 2:46 a.m., I woke up to someone whispering my name. "Hey, wake up." At first, I thought I was dreaming. Then I heard it again. "Wake up." It was my brother. He was standing in my doorway, and he looked completely terrified.
I sat up and asked what was wrong. He didn't answer right away. He just pointed toward the hallway behind him. Then he whispered something that instantly made my stomach drop. "I think there's someone in the house." I immediately thought he was joking, or maybe he heard something outside. But then he said something that made the situation feel very real. "I saw someone standing by the stairs. Not walking, not moving, just standing there, in the dark, looking toward our rooms." At first, I assumed it had to be one of our parents. Maybe my dad got up to get water. But the weird part was, the hallway light wasn't on, and my dad always turns lights on when he walks around at night. My brother kept whispering, "I saw a shadow move." That's when I heard something too, a quiet sound, like someone shifting their weight on the floor, right outside our rooms.
Now both of us were completely awake, and we could hear it clearly. Breathing. Someone was breathing in the hallway. My brother slowly closed my bedroom door. We both stood there listening. The breathing continued for a few seconds, then stopped. Total silence. The kind of silence where your ears start ringing. After about a minute, I whispered, "Maybe it's Dad." But even as I said it, I knew something felt wrong, because our parents' room was downstairs, and we would have heard someone walk up the stairs, but we hadn't. Then something happened that I still can't explain. Our bedroom door handle moved, very slowly, not turning all the way, just enough to make a soft clicking sound, like someone outside was testing it.
We froze. Neither of us said anything. The handle stopped moving. Then we heard footsteps again, slow, walking away from the door, heading toward the stairs. At that point, I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. We waited another 30 seconds. Then I slowly opened the door. The hallway was dark, completely empty, but something immediately caught my attention. The stairway light downstairs was on. That light had definitely been off earlier, and now it was glowing faintly up the stairs. My brother whispered, "Did Mom turn that on?" I didn't answer, because something about the silence downstairs felt wrong, like someone was still there. We walked slowly toward the stairs, each step creaking slightly. I pointed my phone light down into the living room. Nothing. Kitchen. Nothing. Front door. Still locked. Every window closed. No signs anyone had broken in. That's when my dad walked out of his bedroom, looking confused. He asked why we were awake. I immediately asked him if he had been upstairs. He looked at me and said something that made my stomach twist. "No, why would I be upstairs?" I told him everything about the breathing, the footsteps, the door handle moving. He checked the whole house, closets, garage, backyard. Nothing. No one was there. Eventually, everyone went back to bed, but I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying one detail in my head, something my brother said earlier when he first woke me up. I asked him the next morning what the person looked like. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that still gives me chills. He said the person wasn't facing the stairs or the living room. They were standing completely still, facing my bedroom door, like they were waiting. And the creepiest part? When he first saw the figure in the hallway, he thought it was me, standing there, just staring at him. But I had been asleep in my room the entire time.